Hello, viewers. We are back again. This is the
Yeah.
second show. So, for those who are joining us for the first time, second stand for Standing Together Against Child Abuse and Neglect. What we do is, our aim is to promote the well-being of children. Our aim is to explore issues affecting children, bring them to light, and together address these issues. So for this evening, we're going to look at child sexual exploitation. That is our topic. Child sexual exploitation. And I've got my colleague here who would introduce herself. So my name is Elsie and I'm with you this evening. And Ejiro, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, so thank you. So good evening, everyone. So my name is Ijiro, and I'm a trained social worker for over 15 years working within children and family sector. So sexual abuse is something we deal with on a regular basis, basically. So you're welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah. So child sexual exploitation. That is what we're going to look at today. And we do recognize that this topic can be very difficult for many people because of the sensitive nature of, the topic. And, therefore, if you need support, we've got on the screen, we've got a number on the screen and other numbers will be coming up. If you need support, please, by all means, seek support. It's important that, you do seek support. So call the number on the screen and the other agencies you can also contact. Please do so. Thank you. So yes, child sexual exploitation. And for this evening session, we're going to look at what we mean by child sexual exploitation. We're going to look at, the signs of child sexual exploitation, if there are any signs at all. We're going to look at the impact of child sexual exploitation. We're going to look at the groups of people who are most vulnerable to child sexual exploitation. And in terms of support, what support is available. And again, how do we prevent child sexual exploitation? So we're going to go into this and we ask you to join us as we do this. Yes. So without, much ado, we would start off with what is child sexual exploitation. So I believe, Ejiro, you are able to help us over here. So when we talk about child sexual exploitation, what exactly are we talking about? What do we mean? What is this about?
It's a form of sexual abuse where the victim is taken advantage of, have sex with the perpetrator in exchange either for money, for affection, drugs, or for gifts, or for status sometimes, or sense of belongings. Hence, it's called child sexual exploitation, because the child is using, whoever is perpetrating the abuse is using gifts, is using different kinds of methods in order to encourage that child to continue to engage in sexual activities.
Wow. Yeah, certainly. And then we also realize that when we're talking about child sexual exploitation, we also realize that there is this power imbalance, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
So there is this power imbalance in the relationship, and which then makes the abuser able to or have an upper hand, and makes the victim vulnerable to being abused. Yeah. So I mean, in terms of the power imbalance could be because of age.
Yeah.
Because we've got an adult and we've got a child. The power imbalance could be because of social status.
Yes.
That this person is has got has a particular status in society, and so the person can then use that power over that child.
Yes.
The power imbalance again could be factors such as the child's vulnerability, who could
Yeah,
maybe because
absolutely.
of a disability,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
again, financial reasons. The person may be having money, which they can then give to this person, and this
Mm-hmm.
person then becomes false victim to abuse. So
Yeah.
yes, there is that power imbalance, which then makes the abuser capitalize on to abuse the child.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, there could be power imbalance in terms of in terms of age, like I said,
Yeah.
gender, and
Mm-hmm.
again, cognitive ability,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then again, physical
Mm-hmm.
strength.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
also brings about that power imbalance. So there's always that power imbalance, which then makes the abuser take advantage of the other
Mm-hmm.
person who is the
Yeah.
child and
Yeah.
abuses the person. We should,
Absolutely.
once we are also here, I believe it's also worth mentioning that when we talk about child sexual exploitation, anybody can be an abuser or
Yes, absolutely.
perpetrator of
Yes.
child sexual exploitation.
Expert.
So
Yeah.
I mean, there is this myth around that it is only men who normally perpetrate these, but then that is only a myth, because women can also, um, you know, uh, perpetrate this. And again, we've got, we can, and again, this can take place in like gangs and groups and all that. So we should
Mm-hmm.
really bear in
Mm-hmm.
mind
Mm-hmm.
that, a child or a young person can be groomed,
Mm-hmm.
can be abused by a group, a gang of,
Mm-hmm.
a group
Mm-hmm.
or a gang. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
always a single person who is acting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so certainly
Absolutely.
it is also worth noting that in terms of the
Absolutely.
types of child sexual exploitation, we want to
Mm-hmm.
look into that. We know that. I mean, what are the types, Ejiro? Do you want to help us with that?
So it could be either physical. Before I was just talking about sometimes, the young people go into sexual exploitation not knowing that's what it is. So they might believe that this person loves them, he gives them gifts, they feel a sense of belonging in this group. As Elsie had just said, this young person, oh, these guys, they like me, they're my friends, or these girls, they like me, they're my friends. So it could be a group of girls, it could be a group of boys, so they're going thinking, these people, just love them. So it's people, it's a sequential, it's a beat by beat kind of action that even the young person doesn't realize that they're actually going into a place where they're going to be exploited. So obviously we talked about in terms of grooming, that becomes what we call grooming. Yeah, so the times obviously of exploitation could be that physical. It could be just physical sex, or it could be online, kind of. When we say physical, so the child is made to have sexual act, to have sex, sometimes with different men, with different women, with different people, but they're made to encourage to exchange for money, or in exchange for love, or in exchange to being wanted. And sometimes it could be online, obviously exploitation. The child is met, the young person is encouraged to send pictures, their pictures to someone on the internet, on social media, or this sexting, what we call sexting. So they send says sexualized messages or language to another person, another group of friends, or an older person, and that itself is exploitation. Sometimes they're meant to masturbate in front of the camera while and send and ask why somebody else is having a look at it. Or sometimes it could be even them being the perpetrator, asking their friends because another adult is already encouraging them to have their friends to have sex. They can be having sex together, and they are encouraged to show somebody else on the internet. So either online or physical exploitation. So it depends on the circumstances of what's going on in the child's life. So the behavior that we have to look for really as adults will firstly gain the trust as elders and control before they actually sexually abuse this child. So the purpose of gifts, the purpose of being very, very nice, making the child feel really wanted, is to make sure they give the control so that they can sexually, abuse it in different ways or the other. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then, yeah, I would also add that, in terms of the grooming process, the child may
Yeah.
think that they have given consent, or the
Yeah.
child may think that oh, this is a mutual agreement. It is never a
Yeah.
mutual
Absolutely.
agreement. Normally,
Mm.
children and young people are tricked into these relationships. The
Mm-hmm.
other person know very well what they are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in sometimes, the child is of the view that, okay, so I'm doing this in exchange of, gifts. I'm doing this
Mm-hmm.
in exchange of, money. I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
this in exchange of drugs. I'm doing
Uh-huh.
this in exchange of affection. The
Yeah.
child will be thinking that, okay, I have no affection at home. Nobody really cares about me. Nobody
Yeah.
really has time for me. And
Yeah.
nobody really loves me.
Yeah.
And because of that, this person is giving me the love that I want. And so if
Absolutely.
this person is, having sex with me, that is not wrong because we have both agreed to it.
Yeah.
I am giving him something or her something, and the person is also giving me something. So it is a
Mm.
mutual agreement. The
Absolutely.
child is not aware that he or she is being groomed, and that it is not a mutual agreement. And the child cannot consent to having sex. Even if
Yeah.
the
Oh,
child
that's
says
the
no,
thing.
if the child says yes, I want to have sex with you, the child cannot be, because the person is a child. They can't really give consent to
Mm-hmm.
having sex. And the abuser know what they do know, like exactly what they are up to, taking
Mm-hmm.
advantage of the child's vulnerability, grooming the child, winning
Mm-hmm.
the child to their side. Telling them all the nice things, how much they care about you, how
Yeah.
much your parents, how mean they are.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe that you are saying that your mom or your parent cannot afford an iPhone. How much
Mm-hmm.
is an iPhone? You are
Mm-hmm.
so beautiful, you are so precious that no parent should deny you an iPhone. Your mates are having iPhones. Your mates are having, iPhone 11 and iPhone whatever. Why
Mm-hmm.
are you still having this old-fashioned phone? Why don't you have a phone at all? You are a big girl, you
Yeah.
are a big boy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if your parents truly love you, then they would be giving you the phone. And
Yeah.
it appears that they don't care as much as they seem to be. They tell you they care, but actually they don't care, because if they do care, they'll be giving you this phone, or they'll be giving you this, this thing that you've asked them for. So this person then, capitalizes on the vacuum created, and then would
Absolutely.
then give you the gift. Sometimes the vacuum created could be emotion, affection. We
Yeah.
have children who are
Absolutely.
living in we have children who are living in homes where there is domestic abuse.
Mm.
Parents are always like, arguing and fighting and all that. They
Yeah.
are caught up in their own, well, in their own business, their own relationship difficulties.
Yeah.
They sort of lose sight of the child. The
Mm.
child is then at home in this chaotic household where parents are arguing, in this chaotic household where nobody ever says that, oh, I love you, I care about you. The child goes to school and comes back home, and nobody even cares if the child has eaten or not.
Mm.
And therefore, the child then begins to feel needy.
Mm.
And when the child is then interacting with this person, either online or in person, face to face, this person then, takes advantage of the situation and uses that to abuse the child.
Mm.
Sometimes, we have in terms of talking about the signs. I know Ejiro has touched on it. Sometimes we have a young person or a child coming home with gifts,
Mm.
you know, and coming home with gifts, and either a new wristwatch, it could
Mm.
even be a phone, it could
Mm.
be money, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
and and the parent knows very well that we did not give this to you. So where did you get them from?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and then when the parents fail to ask these questions,
Mm-hmm.
child then begin to, get more things from this person. This
Yeah.
person continues to give the child a lot of attention, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then things then take. What we need to understand again is that when we talk about, grooming, the grooming process can take a while.
Yeah.
It is not a
Absolutely.
one day, yeah, it is not a
Yeah.
1 day process
Mm.
or a 1 day thing. Yeah. That is why it is important that as parents and as caregivers, we spend time with our children. We have
Yes.
time with our, we have time for our children. People who groom children do spend a lot of time. They have
Mm-hmm.
time for them because they know what they want to achieve.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
yeah, so it happens in stages, and like I said,
Mm.
it wouldn't just happen at once. They wouldn't just meet the girl in, meet the girl or the boy and say that, oh, I want to have sex with you. No, it doesn't happen like that. Normally, they would keep
Mm-hmm.
watching this child for a
Yeah.
while.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they will get to know this child or this young person through another friend or one of her friends or his friends.
Yes.
They,
Absolutely.
will- they will study this child, what he or she likes, her interest, you know, places he or she likes to visit,
Mm-hmm.
things that attracts this person. They
Mm-hmm.
will try and get more information about this person, and then they will then start off with a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
One video I was watching, this abuser, yeah, would stand at the bus stop, and the girl would come at the bus stop and take her bus. So the girl initially met him at the bus stop, and then he said hi, and then she said hi, and then he took the bus and went to school. The next time, this person purposely came to the bus stop again just
Mm-hmm.
to meet this girl. The
Yeah.
girl,
Wow.
the girl came again. He said, and obviously because they've met themselves for the first time, well, before,
Mm-hmm.
so now
Mm-hmm.
they are not really like new, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "Oh, I met you yesterday," and then she said, "Oh yes," and then the next stage was like, "What is your name?" And the guy introduced himself, and the girl then, mentioned her name. She said, "Oh, I like your hair. Oh, I like your nails. Oh, I like this." And she said, "Oh, thank you." So this is the process. He's now
Mm-hmm.
beginning to win the girl's attention, the
Yeah.
girl's affection, and all that. And then
Absolutely.
the girl took the bus and went to school. The next day, he went back again to the bus station, waiting for the girl. The girl did
Wow.
not turn up. The girl did not turn up, you know. So the girl missed the first bus. She turned up for the second bus. So she came to the bus stop, met this person, and the guy was like, "Oh, you've missed your bus today." What the child is not trying to get or not able to get is that, first of all, I meet this person here all the time.
Mm.
Secondly, why is it that I have missed my bus this time and he's still here? Do you get it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it just a coincidence or there's something more I need to know?
Mm.
I have missed my bus I missed my bus today and he's still here. Does it mean
Mm.
he's also missed his bus also or what? And that is how vulnerable some of our children and young people can be.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
they then went into having a conversation, and he asked him, "Oh, what made you to miss your bus?" And the girl was like, "Because my parents were arguing, they wouldn't give me money for my bus pass. They were delaying, and I was just getting so angry. In fact, I told my mom that I wasn't going to go to school at all." And then they gave him the money, and then you know how the grooming process works. He tried to sympathize with her,
Yeah.
like he
Absolutely.
was he was like, "Oh, how can parents be so mean to you? You are such a beautiful, smart girl, intelligent girl.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they not give you money to go to school? Don't they want you to achieve your dreams? You know, why are they doing that? Why are they not, doing what they need to do as parents? Every parent should make sure that the child has enough money for school."
Absolutely.
And then he was asking the girl, "Okay, so did you phone school to say you were going to be late?" And then she said, "Oh, no, I didn't phone school. I don't even have a phone. And my
Mm.
mom wouldn't allow me to use her phone anyway." "Oh, why won't she allow you to use your phone? But then how old are you anyway? Why, I mean, you are in secondary school. why don't you have a phone of your own? She
Mm-hmm.
said, oh, they said they'll buy me a phone for Christmas. Why should they wait for Christmas? All
Mm-hmm.
your mates, all children your age already have phones, because you need a phone to be able to communicate and interact with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then the girl was like, oh yes. And then so he's just beginning to work, like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, her brain, isn't it? And then she begins to
Mm-hmm.
think, she begins to think, she begins to think, and then she begins to gradually buy into what this person is saying.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes to school. The next time when she comes back to the station, the guy is still there, and the guy has a phone to give her.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Yeah.
guy says that, oh, I've got a phone for you because I
Mm-hmm.
still can't believe your parents wouldn't give you a phone.
Mm-hmm.
So the girl was like, oh, you don't even know me very well. You are such a kind person. And then the guy is like, I don't need to know you. I don't need to be a member of your family. I don't need to be your mom. I don't need to be your dad. I don't need to be your brother or your sister or whoever to,
Yeah.
I mean, to show kindness to you. I'm naturally a kind person.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see why I shouldn't do that. So then gradually they became friends,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing that this particular guy was part of a gang group. So the end, and so finally, what happened to this girl was she was raped by not just one person, by multiple people, because this man was part of a gang group, and then they raped this girl. Um, she came out to tell her story, and then she's now an educator, sharing her story, empowering young people, educating young people, creating awareness of how using her own lives to kind of educate young people around child sexual exploitation.
Yes.
It's
Mm-hmm.
something we need to be really, really, like, really mindful of. So we're still talking about
The science.
the signs of
Yeah.
child sexual exploitation. And yeah, and we've mentioned the gifts here, and then we've
Mm-hmm.
mentioned the fact that a child becomes increasingly secretive,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
very secretive. So the
Mm-hmm.
child is making phone calls. He or she wouldn't allow the parent to know who they are calling.
Yeah.
The child brings gift to the house, new
Mm-hmm.
things, money and all that. And then
Mm-hmm.
when you ask them that, where did you get this from? They won't tell you.
Yeah.
And then you also realize that some of these young people would have older boyfriends or girlfriends.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you can have a child of a 13-year-old
Mm-hmm.
child who has a boyfriend who could be 25, 35, and whatever. So also that is again one of the signs you need to look out for.
Look out
What we
for.
need to
Yeah.
understand is, what we need to understand is that there are no clear signs.
Mm.
And these are some of the things you can't look out for and question. So when
Yeah.
you see your
Mm.
child being secretive, you need to question that. When you see your child bringing new things to the house, clothes, money that you haven't given them, you need to be asking where these are from. When
Yeah.
your child then
Absolutely.
is talking to older people, older boyfriends and girlfriends and all that, you need to be really inquisitive and be asking, who is this person to you? They may
Mm.
not tell you this is my boyfriend or this is my girlfriend. They may
Mm.
hide that, but then you need to be very observant and be,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and be monitoring.
Mm.
And again, they may isolate themselves from their network. So you would see
Mhm.
that this person has got friends in school, or but then normally she would isolate herself and be with some other person.
Mm.
She's not with her usual friendship group. She's
Absolutely.
very secretive. She
Mm.
isolates herself or himself, or himself. And again, you'd also realize that in some situations they are fearful of certain people.
Mm.
The moment a person calls the phone, they are so scared, they are panicking, and you are wondering,
Yeah.
why is it that anytime this person calls your phone, you panic?
Mm.
What is really happening?
Yeah.
And again, what we need to also realize is that or notice that in terms of the signs, some of these young people will be truanting, missing school,
Mhm.
or falling behind their schoolwork.
Yeah.
They miss school. They don't get to school on time. They're always late
Mhm. Yeah.
or mostly late,
Mhm.
and that then impacts on their schoolwork.
Yeah.
Again, look at that. And then again, when they go to school, persistently they are returning home very late.
Mhm.
So your child normally finishes school at 3:30, maybe by 4, latest by 4:30, the child should be home.
Yeah.
But then the child is always getting home really, really late. And again, that is also one of the signs. Another thing we should again look out for as parents, as carers, is the fact that some young people would end up dealing in drugs.
Yeah.
And that is another thing we need to be mindful of. Aside that, some would again be going missing from home.
Mhm.
So your child will be missing from home a day, two, half a day, and all that, which is very unusual of that child. How do you
Mhm.
manage that? And obviously, when that happens, I mean, what you would normally do is to report the child to the police. But then
Mhm.
it's important that you also monitor that, because sometimes you report the child to the police, the child may come back again the next day. You ask the child, "Where have you been?" They would just say, "Oh, with a friend." Okay, so who is that friend? They wouldn't tell you. And then the next time they go missing again, and they come back and they wouldn't tell you where they've been.
Mhm.
And the next time they would go missing again.
Yeah.
So these are the things that we need to be looking out for. Um, Again, we in terms of the signs,
Mhm.
some young people would also end up shoplifting.
Mhm.
Something we again need to be mindful of, and petty crimes. They would be getting into trouble with the police.
Mhm.
Yes, yeah. Do you want to add anything, Ejiro? I know I've been
No,
talking.
I know in terms of physical sign, with pregnancy, look out for, is
Mm.
this, if it's a girl, did she go into her room? Does she have a lot of pregnancy kits trying to test whether she's pregnant or not? Or can you see that her body is changed or she might be pregnant? Then another thing I think you've talked about is there bruises on her? Some of them will have love marks, bite marks on their necks, on their back. It could be anything. Or, is that they're saying that they've got sexually transmitted disease? It could be anything. They could have had sexually transmitted disease, and that needs to be treated. You understand? And sometimes, they have unnecessary sleepovers. You're not quite sure who they won't tell you where they are having that sleepovers. As you rightly said, they come home very, very late, or they want to go out very late at night, and you don't even know who they are mixing, and they refuse to tell you who they are meeting. And sometimes, developing anxiety and fear, as you rightly said, some anxiety and fear, very, very frightened, but they won't say exactly why. So changes in behaviors, especially for teenagers, whether it's a boy or a girl, that's the thing that we as parents or even parents or whatever has to really, really look out for. What are the changes? Why is this child behaving this way? It's unlike him or her, and that's it for me, really, in relation to looking at for the signs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and in terms of, I mean, Ejiro, somebody will be asking that online sexual abuse. How does it really happen? What would you say? How
So,
does sexual
so
abuse or
yeah,
sexual or
so we're talking about obviously the online sexual abuse is when you say, okay, so take a picture of images of a child, somebody, an adult, sometimes they will, many people have go to different websites where they can hook up with somebody who has befriend them on Facebook. It could be, these days they have a lot of secrets websites which children tend to go into. Sometimes our parents are not even aware of it. And they'll ask this child, take a picture of yourself, send, sexualized language, masturbating in front of the camera, or it could start, okay, take a picture of your breast or your leg or when you're naked, or even perform sexual acts or images of children. So it could be also, so those are the things that goes through the social media, or even sexting. What was our sexting? Sending sexualized images from one place to another, and usually go through social media. And sometimes, the perpetrator might befriend this child on social media for a very long time. They said, oh, they pretend to be 15 years old, but they're not 15 years old, normally an adult, until they get to a method of blackmailing that child. If you don't send this picture, now I have your picture, I have this, I have that, and I'm going to put it on Facebook. Obviously, no child, no young person will want that to happen because they'll be afraid of what their parents or their parents will do. So through that blackmail, the man will want to, or a woman will want to meet them live and really sexually abuse them. And so it's the grooming process takes time, as Elsa has said. It's a calculated time that most perpetrators use to ensure they achieve their goals, basically.
Yeah. Thank you, Ejiro. And
Mm.
yes, so we can't minimize the impact of online in terms of child sexual exploitation.
Yeah.
We can't say that it's happening on the over the internet. So there's not going to be any harm to my child because my child is not meeting this person face to face because it is just online. And like Ejiro said, a number of young people have been asked to send inappropriate photos of themselves, nude photos of themselves to these people online. And as the relationship develops, then the perpetrator will start making demands.
Mm-hmm.
They will make demands of, I want, if you don't do this to me, or I want to meet you face to face.
Mm-hmm.
The child is saying that, okay, face to face is not, I mean, my teacher at school or my parents have told me face to face, meeting somebody you don't know face to face
Mm-hmm.
it's not too right. So I'm not going to do that. And then they are like, okay, but I've got your photo here. Do you
Mm-hmm.
want your teacher to see this photo? Remember this photo, you are just in your bra and your panty. Do you want your teacher in school to see this photo? Do you want your mom to see this photo? Do you want your dad to see this photo? Because if they do, then they'll be really, really disappointed in you.
Mm-hmm.
And but then if you don't meet me face to face, I'm going to put this photo on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do, who is going to lose? You are going to lose. I'm not going
Yeah.
to lose.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And all your friends will make mockery of you because you don't
Mm-hmm.
want anyone to see this photo. It's a private photo. You
Mm-hmm.
don't want people in school to see it. You don't want your friends to be laughing at you. So if you don't meet me face to face, I am going to put this on Facebook. And then what happens is the child becomes really, really stressed up. The child becomes really, really stressed up, and the child is not able to tell an adult or the parent because the
Mm-hmm.
child knows that
It's
in
so
the
afraid.
first place,
Mm-hmm.
I should not have, sent my photo to this person.
Mm-hmm.
When the child was sending the photo, the child or young person knew that it wasn't right. However, because they are children, you know, they are not able to kind of think through their actions. So the young person will be thinking that okay, it's only a photo. What can he do with a photo? Or the young person can say that this person seems like he likes me.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just send a photo. Let me just send him a photo. And sometimes the young person will send a photo to you based on trust.
Mm-hmm.
He or she knows that you cannot, do anything with a photo that he or she doesn't like. So based on that trusting relationship, because normally when somebody is grooming a child, because it's a process, they initially build trust with that, with a young person.
Young
Because
person.
without trust, you can't really go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why we are saying that it's a process. It takes time. These people have time for these young people. They
Mm-hmm.
have all the time because they know and understand their game. They know what they are looking to get at the end of it. So they have so much time. So they build trust at the initial stages. I mean, something like, the young person's birthday. They can remember the birthday and be like, oh, tomorrow is your birthday. And you're like, how did you know? Oh, because I care about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they are tracking you, they are following
Mm-hmm.
you. They
Yeah.
they have a plan, they have a game. So, but then the young person is not aware. So the young person thinks that because he or she remembers my birthday and is wishing me a happy birthday, this person actually cares about me. Because some of my friends cannot even remember that today or tomorrow is my birthday. My friends haven't even wished me a happy birthday. In fact, my dad even forgot today was my birthday. Or in fact, my mom was too consumed with work or with her own, life that she even forgot to wish me a happy birthday. So imagine that as a parent who is a significant person in the child's life, you forget the child's birthday, which means so much to the child. And somebody who is not the child's parent, the child's sibling or whatever, somebody, an outsider, a stranger, then remembers the child's birthday, Don't you think that the child is going to kind of warm up to this person?
Absolutely.
The child is going to trust this person. The child is unfortunately not aware that this person is up to something. And so they start chatting, they would communicate, they would laugh. He or she would always be going on the internet. She's always on her phone, chatting, sending messages to this person, sometimes FaceTiming and all that. And then one day, boom, the person says that I want to meet you face to face. And then the person would be saying that, and before the person says that I want to meet you face to face, obviously, this is a plan. They've got a plan in place. And they've got a plan in place. And the plan is like, if this person, this child or this young person refuses to see me face to face, then I'm going to say or do A, B, and C. They've got everything mapped out because that is what they've been doing. Yeah, and so I mean, online exploitation is serious. Some people have been, trafficked into other places, either within the country or even outside the country, and it's all part of the grooming process. They have been moved from one place to the other to be exploited sexually, and that is part of the grooming process. So it's important that we are aware, and again, young people, as we said before, can be moved from one place to the other, and then once they are there, they can't then be sexually exploited. Sometimes not by one person, but by a group of people. And sometimes too, young people are made to join gang groups. Are made to join gang groups, and that is all part of the grooming process. So something we need to be mindful of. We'll be moving on to talk about the impact of child sexual exploitation. Ejiro, do you want to lead on this?
Okay, so I mean, just from our experience, really, that most young people who are being sexually exploited, one of the things that they disengage with family activities. They no longer want to be involved in, like family time, build a relationship within the family. They are always out. And some of them, as we've talked about before, they start to develop anxiety and depression. So because they're not quite sure who to tell or whatever it is, whether they want to make changes or not. Some of them having sleepless nights. And some, they're afraid that they are pregnant. So, but they don't want to do that, that they will go and buy pregnancy kit, and do the testing themselves instead of seeking, proper medical advice. And in most cases, some people have, they've been to drugs and get hooked and addicted to drugs. Because it's bit by bit, little by little, they feel that, this guy is giving me cannabis and he's not taking money for it. He's been nice, he's been giving me, so get addicted and addicted until the day you say, okay, give me you're owing me 1,000 pounds. Then the child realizes, hang on a minute, I don't have 1,000 pounds. Where am I going to get it from? Then from there, then the grooming, you already know that this is kind of a groom, but the child, so the impact could be sleepless night, being angry when the child is approached or the young person is approached by family member, even by professionals. disengaged with professionals, disengaged with parents, disengaged with, anybody who, even with the police. So it's quite a serious thing that the children, because they're so frightened of disclosing whatever needs to happen, because somebody has put a very fear and groomed them to the extent that they'd say, just like sexual abuse, if you say anything, it's all your fault, like Elsa said. It's so much that people, especially when it comes to child sexual exploitation, their safety is actually quite, serious. The safety of that young person, whether male or female, is quite a serious thing, because if they disclose, they could have been exploited into a gang, and that gang is a very systemic gang, and there is no way they will be allowed to speak about that gang, because they might be threatened of being killed. Because I've had cases of a young person says, I might be killed, I might die anytime. So those are the things we have to look at. Is this child having, it says, oh, I want to kill myself at some point? It might not be their words, but somebody else who's made that threat to them, the threats to, harm them in a different way if they disclose what's going on.
Yeah.
Some of them have gone missing, constantly going missing, especially children who are looked after by the local authority. Children, who, as Elsa has said, especially children who have got learning disability, who are not streetwise, because you've shown that little interest. They don't even know how to, the ability to disseminate or to understand that whatever is happening in their lives is somebody who wants to take advantage and use them for their own end purpose, basically. So it's just, you can imagine having a child who has disengaged from the family, who is not wanting to take interest in any family activities, not want to do anything at all, just want to go out and don't come back home. So for all, and sometimes children, the person might not even be eating. I've had cases of a young person who's not even eating. The family were so concerned. The child comes home feeling hungry all the time. And as she comes home with different clothes, she's coming back home. She goes with her clothes, and she comes back with somebody else's man, young man, or an older man's, t-shirt or trousers. Where were your clothes then? Or come back very, very hungry. You wonder, where have you been for 2 days? Where did they feed you there? Why are you coming home really hungry? So those are some of the impact and financial impact, because they have been blackmailed. I had cases when a child owned, they were told that they owed £5,000. How? And we had to move that child from one county to the other just to keep the child safe. So it's quite serious in terms of, so even the family itself can have, obviously the family will want to pay that money. And so it means you put the family in debts, and no child wants to do that, but it's happened. So that becomes a continuous grooming and danger, because they've already put that child in a situation that they're unable to get out of.
Yeah. And that is very worrying, isn't it? I mean, prevention is always better than trying to cure it or trying to, make things better. So let us really be on the lookout, and save or keep our young people safe. We've got a question over here which says that what specifically should parents who are not financially sound to meet all the needs of their children do to alleviate these dangers? So if we have like a parent who are not financially sound or who are poor, well, it says that what can they do to prevent their child, being exploited because they are not able to give the child what he or she needs, and the child may go outside to seek things from people. What are your thoughts, Adjo?
Absolutely. I think that's so major, and that is happening all the time. It's happening, especially in the Black community, where, maybe there's only one income earner, not earning enough, and these children want designer clothes. It always starts with designer clothes. It starts with, as you rightly said before, an iPhone, instead of a phone that you can press and doesn't have social media on it. And then the cases, I always say, start from the beginning. You bring your children up. You are the designer. What's Nike? Who is Nike? Is a name. So you too, what's your name? So it has to start from the beginning. You got to train your children to be content with what they have and be truthful with them. Say, look, right now as a family, we cannot afford this. Doesn't make you any less a human being. So we have to build our children's confidence, as you rightly said, Elsie. So you also start from the beginning when the children are with you, you're not spending more time and talking to them, being open about family circumstances. So your children don't feel like, oh, they have to go and sell the drugs, they have to use themselves, even boys being sexually exploited in order to be able to buy the expensive thing because their friends have got it. But if you build your child's confidence, because clothes or phone it doesn't create identity. You see, so we have to create a good sense of self, a good identity for our children, especially for the Black community. Build a good sense of self for your children so that they don't go out and say, oh, my friend is wearing Nike, so I have to buy Nike. If not, they say they don't want to be my friend. If they don't want to be your friend, be your own friend. Make your own party. So all has to do with spending more time and being open and being honest that we cannot afford it. Doesn't make you any less loved as a family. You see now, because if the love is there, no matter where you live, even if you live in one room with your two kids, yeah, I've seen many different communities apart from the Black community. The parents don't speak English. They live in one bedroom flat, 7 of them, and they're doing very well in school because there's one parent who is at home spending time with those kids, who's been up and said, we cannot afford it, we can only have a bit of chapati and a bit of curry today, and there's no chicken. But this is put in there. You got to get education. You get to go do well in school because that's the only way you can get out of this poverty. So it's up to us now as Black community to start waking up, especially our children, and many of our hearts bleeds for the Black boys, even the girls, who have a very high rate of being in the gangs because the parents, at least one parent, doesn't have to be the two, at least one parent have to make that sacrifice of ensuring that children remains, because if you don't love your kids, somebody else is out there to love them, and they will love them with what they have. You see, so if we don't love our own, other people will love them for you, and that's the danger. So it's building that relationship, being open and honest. This is the family. Children do understand. If you don't have, tell them we have love, we have joy. We have stability, we have each other. So there are things we can do to promote. I used to work with a lady years ago, and she said to me one thing I will never forget. She said, even if you live in one room, make sure you take interest in your children. And I will never forget. Then I just had my daughter for 1 year. She said, even if you live in one room, one thing you must do, make sure you think bigger outside that room. You see, and that I took with me. Even as they grew up, and they were saying, you are the designer. So you got to tell your kids that not Nike. Nike is making money out of you. I know you can buy Nike if you can afford it. If your parents can afford, that's fine. If your can afford to buy you, iPhone, that's fine. Why you buy an iPhone for a 15-year-old who has not even passed GCSEs? What is the motivation there? I mean, what's the reward? If when they're working, they can't afford to buy an iPhone. So now we need to think about really as parents, when that child feels, oh, my mommy doesn't have any money, doesn't have this, I don't even have enough clothes. How many clothes do you have? Do you have 2 or 3? Wash them, let them be clean. We have love in this house. It's not going to be this is a temporary thing. It's not going to be forever. You see, so it's up to us now, and we can do. And children are not stupid. They will be fine. They will have that confidence and say, okay, when I grow up, I'm going to do better for my parents. I'm going to be better. I'm going to be better. So we sacrifice the Black we have to really make to ensure that none of our boys and our girls no longer suffer what they're suffering, so that they can achieve what they have to achieve.
Thank you so much. So that they can achieve what they have to achieve. Yeah. So in terms of prevention, or how do we minimize, the risk of child sexual exploitation? Obviously, you've listed them really clearly. We're talking about building relationships, having time for our children, having time for our young people. And we shouldn't wait until they are 16, until they are 14, until they are 15. Right from the very onset, we need to know our children. We need to show an interest in their lives and in their activities. We
Absolutely.
need to have that bond with them, that special relationship with them, spend time with them, take interest in their affairs, know who their friends are, know where they go to when they are not home.
Mm,
That have that close relationship, because many a times you've realized that many parents try to seek help when the damage has already been caused.
absolutely. Yeah.
And there's no quick fix when we're talking about this issue. There's no quick fix.
Mm,
There's no quick fix. You can't wait till your child is 16 and your child is meeting up with really like risky people, or your child is into all those activities, drugs and alcohol and crime and all that, and then you want to just wake up one day and try to use a magic wand to fix things. It doesn't
mm,
work like that.
mm.
As we always say, parenting is hard work. Parenting is
Yeah.
not it's not a joke.
No.
Parenting is not easy. Parenting is hard work. It is time consuming. It takes a lot of time. You need to
Mhm.
invest a lot of time into parenting. Spending time with your children takes a lot of time. Doing things with your children is time. When the child comes back from school, do you even ask the child how was school? Do you have those normal conversations with the child? Do you show an interest in what the child is doing? Spending time with the child. Sometimes we can be so busy as parents with our own work, so busy with our own lives, we feel that they are okay. They are okay because there is food at home. When we're talking about the well-being of children, it's not just about food, it's about meeting their emotional needs.
Mm,
It's not just about food, meeting their emotional needs. It's about ensuring that they are safe. So offering safety to that child. How are you as a parent offering the child that safety that they need? Your parenting ability, part of being a parent or being a good parent is about giving your child safety, security, stability, nurturing home environment. These are really vital ingredients that we can't do without. It is not just about giving the child food. Parenting, I mean, nobody's a perfect parent. We learn each
mm.
day. We learn from our,
Yeah.
our children. We learn
Mm,
through from other parents. We learn from things around us. We learn each time to be better parents.
mm,
Parenting is, somebody said, it's not a joke. Yes, but then we can do it. We want to mold that child to become a responsible adult when they are old. But then it won't just happen. It takes work, 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 work. But then certainly we would reap, the rewards of our labor one day.
mm.
Our child would grow up to be that responsible adult that we want him or her to be. Certainly they will, but then we need to put in that work. We need to show an interest. I cannot emphasize enough the need for building relationships, positive relationship with that child, with that young person. I mean, in my line of practice, I have come across a number of young people who are engaged in drugs, alcohol, other criminal activities, and parents will be like, and then parents are so, frustrated. And I keep saying, and then they would ask you that, what can I do, Elsie? What can I do, Elsie? And I wish I had the answer. I wish I had the magic wand to turn things around. And I keep saying that unfortunately, there's nothing like a magic wand. I mean, you can only do your best at this stage, but then it is going to be really hard because the child is 16. The child has already been molded, shaped, you know. Yeah, so right from day one, we should show an interest in our children's um, activities. Yeah, and then we have also, I mean, did highlight the impact or the effect of, child sexual exploitation. We have both short and long-term impact, mental health and all that, on the child. And so because of that, some of these would follow the child through to adulthood. A number of adults are there and they are broken or they are damaged because of what had happened to them in their early years.
Mm.
We need to be there for our children, our young people, build relationships, be aware of the signs of child sexual exploitation, be aware of, how we can support them. In terms of support, if somebody is obviously, if we've got some numbers on the screen. If you are worried that your child or a young person is at risk of child sexual exploitation, please, if the person is at immediate risk and you are in the UK, please do call 1999. The numbers is over there. If the child is not at immediate risk, please do call the police on 101. Yeah, so 999 if it's immediate, if it's an emergency, call the police on 999. If it's non-emergency, call the police on 101. We've got other services like PACE. PACE works with parents and carers of children who are at risk of, child sexual exploitation. We've got their number on the screen. And then we've also got Barnardo's. Just go on the website, type Barnardo's. You can have their number. Their number would come on the screen. Seek help from them. We've got a number of agencies that are there who can support you. We've got a child line. You can again call the child line, which is they can be reached 24/7. So please do seek support from these people. And we've got Crime Stoppers. I've got a number over there, Crime Stoppers. We've got a number there. Please do call them if your child or another child that is being sexually exploited, or it is at risk of being sexually exploited. In terms of your final word, Ejiro, what would you say?
So my word for tonight is really, I was just going to say before I put the final words in, is adults, until we address our needs, it's going to be very difficult to address your child's needs, isn't it? So as parents, please seek the help that you need. If you're experiencing mental health or bereavement or poverty, neglect of yourself, address those issues so that you're able to look after your children. However, if you feel, okay, you're going through mental health difficulties, you're going through this, you're going through that, ask for mentors, ask for somebody else, ask a friend, ask a neighbor, ask a community. Where you are, if you're a churchgoer, if you're a Muslim, whatever you are, whatever community that you find, even if it's not, you can't find a suitable friend, somebody who will help you to parent the child, to be open, not to be secretive. I was listening to someone, obviously putting a note on one of the state cans where they said, children need to be given opportunity to be open and speak about their feelings, because they go out there, they will always be vulnerable out there. But when they come in, their home should be a place of safety. You see, so your family home should be a place of safety, a place where you feel afraid outside. When you come back in, then you feel safe. You feel that you can talk about your feelings, your worries, your understanding of the world, of how things are going. So I'm hoping today that even if you're a child or a young person, you feel vulnerable and you feel as if you are in a place you can't get out, contact the youth charity called Fearless. Just put in Fearless on online, and they will support you. They will without or gangs line. They will support you. You can talk about your anonymously. You can talk about what's going on that you can't talk to anyone at all. So that's my word for that. As parents, please let's address whatever the needs that we have, so that we are capable enough to be available of what's going on in our young people's world. And as a young person, if you feel that you're being exploited, please, Fearless, the youth charity called Fearless, is there if you want to, or just contact, as Elsie has rightly said, Childline. That there are resources out there for you to be able to get out, and be safe. If the worst comes to wherever you are, just call 999. If you can't find anything else to call, get out. It's okay. If you get out, you will be protected by Children's Services. And if you're here internationally, you feel that you've been exploited, sexually exploited, you're in England, find a way to get out, to go to a neighbor, and raise the alarm. There will be help out there for any one of you.
All right. Wow. Thank you, Ejiro. That is so educative. And that is really, really clear. So seek help. Don't wait till it's too late. Please seek help. And like Ejiro said, if it's an emergency, call the police. Wherever you are, whichever country, certainly you can get involved with the police because child sexual exploitation is a crime. So seek help and get the support you need. Yeah, so we have come to the end of this evening show. Thank you for staying with us, and I believe we've all learned, a thing or two. And thank you, Ejiro, for being here. And yes, thank you. And
Thank
so,
you.
bye bye.
Bye.